Welcome back. We are hearing more and more signals and warnings that the market cycle in crypto and potentially the stock market is over in 2025, and it continues to play out exactly as we have called it because the bulls keep doubling down and buying the dips. But remember, at the end of a cycle, the dips just keep dipping. Jesse Olson, a well-known trader in the market, a swing trader and obsessed with charts, and I would say out of all the people that I follow, he's probably the most aligned with kind of what my investment thesis is based on the charts, based on the historical context of these markets. And he said this downward move has just begun. Expect bounces due to profit taking in the market, but the damage is done. Some people realize faster than others, and some never realize. Those people are what we call forced hodlers, or in my view, they're bag holders. And we on this channel are here to make money. And it doesn't matter whether I'm right, whether you're right, whether Jesse's right. All that matters is what the market does. And that's why we trade the market that is in front of us. And this idea that we are not going into a bear market, this idea that we haven't hit euphoria in the middle of 2025 is complete and utter nonsense. In today's video, we're going to be exploring some of this kind of context a little bit more in detail about where the Bitcoin cycle is, where the Bitcoin cycle is going, because this is where it doesn't matter how low we go or how long it takes to get there. What matters is we understand that we are going lower so that we can shore up liquidity and then buy the bottom of the market. And by the way, the bottom of the market doesn't hit after 1 day of downward trend or 1 month of downward trend. And these YouTubers and influencers that are saying, well, the bottom is now here, you need to block them so they're not even in your algorithm, because at the end of the day, they are and continue to be wrong. And they were wrong in the last cycle. We called the top of the market in the last cycle. We literally called the bottom of the market. FTX's collapse to the day. We didn't know it was going to be FTX, but we knew that around that time of the year, it would be the bottom. And it happened to be to the day. We were that accurate. But we're going to be starting right here with JP Morgan rolling out their coin on Coinbase's blockchain. Make sure you guys are subscribed to this channel. We upload every single day of the year to bring you the latest happening in the financial world. Also, give the video a free thumbs up because you guys know thumbs up are always free. Let's get into today's video. So like I said, thumbs up are always free, so make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button and also hit that subscribe button. But now we're hearing that JP Morgan has rolled out their own coin, which by the way, they've had for many years now, on Coinbase's Base blockchain. So JP Morgan has officially launched JPM Coin, a digital deposit token for institutional clients, signaling a major step as banks deepen their involvement in digital assets. And remember what we've been talking about. They don't care that there's 2 million coins and that there's crypto. They're saying, oh yeah, we're going to totally get into digital assets, but they're getting into their own digital assets. And that's the only ones that they care about. And we're going to be exploring that a little bit deeper as well in today's video. So the digital coin represents the dollar deposits held at JP Morgan, enabling instantaneous transfers using Coinbase's blockchain Base, according to the co-head of JP Morgan's blockchain called Connexus. They said this rollout allows payments to settle in seconds, anytime around the clock, rather than taking days or being restricted to business hours, and follows a month-long trial involving major players like MasterCard, Coinbase, and B2C2. JP Morgan plans to eventually deploy the token on other blockchains and give clients access to the JPM coin and expand the token to multiple currencies pending regulatory approval, which obviously they're going to get. But again, this is JP Morgan's version effectively of a stable coin, right? And so this goes into what we were talking about with just the other day. Cathie Wood reduced her 2030 outlook price for Bitcoin by 30% from $1 million per coin down to 700,000 per coin. And she said a lot of that had to do with because the stablecoin market is taking that market share away from what Bitcoin, they thought Bitcoin would do, right? Bitcoin, everybody was talking about payments and micropayments and this and that, but people aren't using Bitcoin for that. They're using Bitcoin as a store of value, which I think is totally fine, but it does take market share away because people are going to transact in stable coins. Now, talking about Coinbase, Coinbase has now just ended their potential or attempts to acquire the $2 billion in a $2 billion deal to acquire stablecoin startup BVNK. I don't know what was just going on with this site. It was like glitching. But Coinbase is basically exiting their talks to basically acquire this bank called BVNK. And they both ended the talks for whatever reason. I don't know. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on from a regulatory perspective. There's a lot of things going on from the fact that we are rotating into a bear market. I just saw a comment the other day and they said, Cryptoviser, if we're going into a bear market, why is Coinbase buying the top of the market? I don't know. Why is MicroStrategy buying the top of the market, right? They have a much longer time horizon and they want to park their cash in certain things. And you guys have to realize, like, Coinbase probably transacts mostly in USDC. And so they're already in crypto. They're already parking their money in crypto. And so buying Bitcoin, I mean, it's not really that big of a deal because in the long term, it will pay off. For MicroStrategy, the long term, it will pay off. Because I do believe that over the long period of time, Bitcoin will continue to go up in value, just like most other assets like housing, like stocks, like gold, right? It may not go up every single day, but over the long period of time, it does go up. And that brings us to another Coinbase story before we get into all of the Bitcoin drama. Coinbase has moved to incorporate in Texas from Delaware following Elon Musk's lead. The Coinbase chief legal officer wrote an op-ed that the crypto platform is moving out of the state to Texas. Now, this is not that big of a deal, but I thought it was, interesting to at least bring up. Also in Coinbase news, they are delisting EOS. Now, I would imagine there's probably a lot of people who watch my videos that don't even know what EOS is. But I mean, I don't really fully know what EOS is, right? But EOS has been around since the ICO days started in like 2018-ish, 2017. And you can see that this was the actual most successful ICO of all time. Jameson Lopp wrote, EOS, what a story. Arguably the most successful ICO of all time. They raised $4 billion to develop the new layer one cryptocurrency. And by the way, remember when they were ICOing, there were like 4 cryptocurrencies in existence, right? Now we have millions. So people who were not around at that time, they don't even realize that there were only 4 cryptos in 2017, and then there were forks, and there were ICOs, and then cryptos started popping up. The market cap of EOS now sits at less than $500 million. And remember, they raised $4 billion. But Block One, the company that built EOS, still holds 160,000 Bitcoin from the ICO. And now that is worth $16 billion. Now, effectively, this is in regards to Coinbase announcing that they're delisting certain coins, and one of those coins is EOS. And I would imagine just because it has probably almost no volume, and you can see that from peak euphoria in the markets, it was at $17 back in 2018, and it's now at 26 cents. And basically has no volume. $1 million in volume is barely anything. I would imagine a lot of this volume increase is probably due to people just getting out of the coin. But this kind of just goes to show you guys, these coins that people are like, I'm going to hold for 20 years, I'm going to hold and I'm going to stake these, I'm going to lock my coins in for 10 years staking. Guys, you don't even know where this coin is going to be next year, let alone in 4 years like EOS, or just under 10 years, right? This coin didn't even last 10 years, as most coins don't. Because the issue is a lot of these coins launch and they promise a lot of things. They promise the world, oh, we're going to do this better, we're going to do this better, everyone's going to use this coin, this coin, this coin, and then they create nothing. We've seen this over and over and over. And here's the deal, the people that get locked in, like there's still people probably who are holding EOS, maybe not anymore, but maybe in the last cycle, that were like, oh, we're going to hit the all-time high. And that's what we call top chasers. Top chasers become bag holders. And bag holders, they just literally talk about the same thing for years. This is going on with Bitcoin. This is going on with MicroStrategy. This is going on with Cardano. This is going on with EOS. This is going to happen with Solana at some point. And I'm not saying that there's no usage of these coins at all, because there obviously is. But it's also really, really important to remember that there's 2 million coins. You can see here on CoinMarketCap, if we go all the way to the top, it's going to say cryptos, 27 million cryptos in existence. 27 million. How many of these are actually going to gain market share? A very, very small few. And even those few that do get the large market share and are in the top 10, top 20, top 30, top 40, sometimes they're just there because the bag holders won't sell, but that doesn't mean anybody's buying. And so the price sometimes moves in line with the rest of the market. But over time, most of these crypto projects are just extracting liquidity from the ecosystem. I do actually think that ICP is extracting or has been extracting liquidity, because I want you guys to remember, when I sold some or all of my position in ICP in the beginning of October or late September, all of a sudden, when I posted my videos about doing this, which are all delayed, all of my videos are delayed, and they're purposefully delayed because the macro view of the markets doesn't change from day to day. But immediately after I posted the video, I sold my ICP. Boom, the price started going up 2x, 3x, 4x. And then we looked at some of the metrics on the ICP dashboard, and none of the metrics were moving. It wasn't like there was, grand adoption. But we started to see some changes in the exchange rate of the T cycles, as they call them. This is how they pay for compute on the Internet Computer Network. And to me, it looked, and potentially still looks, like somebody was manipulating the metrics to move the price higher. But these are called pump and dumps. They're just trying to extract liquidity. And what it also tells me is the reason that ICP was the worst performing crypto of 2025 in the top 50, right? It was down 50%, while most of the cryptos were not down 50%. This told me that they were extracting liquidity. Who? I don't know. Maybe the insiders, maybe the developers, maybe traders. They were just extracting, maybe the stakers. I don't know. But somebody was extracting liquidity slowly throughout the whole year to get this slow drain. And then as soon as there's like, oh no, a YouTuber is exiting their position, that means they're not going to talk about this coin anymore. So we have to get them back in the coin. Like all the comments on my video were like, most of these people were blocked because they're fake. It's bots. We're saying, oh, well, Cryptoviser, you're going to have to buy back in higher. It's like, no, I'm actually not, because I'm not buying back in. Like, just pumping the price 4x is not going to get me to jump back in. It's actually making me think that this is going to be a pump and dump. And if we look at the actual price movement of ICP after that, I mean, you can clearly see this in the charting. And if you look at the metrics on the network, you can clearly see that as well. This is a pump and a dump. What do we call that? Pump. And then what happens right after? A major dump. Anyway, moving right along and to another pump and dump, just joking. Bitcoin is not a pump and dump. Long-term, Bitcoin, I still think has value. But I want you to remember what Jesse said here. The downward move has just begun. He also posted this, saying nearly 1 month after he posted this chart, which is saying, assuming this is the Bitcoin peak and it doesn't mirror the previous cycle, expect different chart patterns. But it did, right? It's going to follow previous chart patterns. He said nearly 1 month later, Bitcoin's Heiken Ashi weekly chart broke down below the upward sloping trend line. The first longer term target was hit, and now there's a pending sell signal. 11 more months to go? Actually, yes, 11 more months to go until we hit the bottom of the market. Because remember, from the top of the market to the bottom of the market, based on historical trends of the Bitcoin cycle, from top of the market last cycle to bottom of the market was 1 year to the day. Previous cycle, 1 year to the day. First cycle, I think it was about 1 year, but I don't really focus too much on the first cycle because there was not a lot of liquidity in the market. But the last two cycles, from the top of the market to the bottom of the market, was exactly 1 year to the day. But we have a lot of YouTubers and influencers and even people who watch my video that say, no, Cryptoviser, you're wrong. We're not going to hit this. This cycle is different because Wall Street's involved. It's like, well, that tells me that we're going to even have more lows because Wall Street is involved, because Wall Street controls the market and they don't want, thousands of percent gains because it takes market share away from the stock market. So I do agree with Jesse here that we have 11 more months to go. because the top of the market was in October of 2025, $126,000, right? And Bitcoin halving chart that occurred right before the 550-day mark, which is exactly what I have been saying literally since July of 2025. July, August, September, October. I've been telling my viewers, we will hit the top before 550 days. And sure enough, we did. And we've had hundreds, if not thousands, of people coming on the channel saying, Cryptoviser, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Well, we're actually right. And now we are in downtrend, okay? And here's the deal, guys. In these cycles, you have to understand when you need to exit. You have to understand where it's time to move on, right? Not permanently, but based on where the cycle is. And this goes for any asset. This doesn't just go for crypto. This goes for stocks, right? A lot of people say, Cryptoviser, why did you sell your ICP? It's like, because it was down 50% on the year. It's the worst performing crypto. And then immediately after I sell, all of a sudden it's pumping 5x. Ignore it and move on. We're going to go into assets or into trades that we believe are going to perform because we're here to make money. We're not here to bag hold. We're not here to own a coin like EOS that is going to go down from $17 down to nothing. And they have all the money in the world, right? What was the number Jameson said? 160,000 Bitcoin, $16 billion worth of coins that they can use to develop the ecosystem, and they didn't. They didn't do it. Almost a decade later. And so we're here to make money. We're not here to bag hold. If you're here to bag hold, well, do you. I don't really care what you do in your portfolio. I want to make that very clear. I don't care what you do in your portfolio. I want all of my viewers and my audience to make money and to be good. That's why I'm making these videos, to kind of give a counterpoint to all of these YouTubers that are saying, buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. But at the end of the day, I don't care what you do in your portfolio. I'm just sharing my opinions and my analysis on what I think is going to happen and happening in the market. Ali Charts, with 163,000 followers on X, said 328 days remain until Bitcoin reaches the market bottom, likely between $38,000 and $50,000. What do you think about that? Now, I don't know where the bottom is going to be from a price perspective. I do think it's going to be below the MicroStrategy dollar cost average, which is around $74,000. So we're definitely going below that. How much lower? I don't know. We could go to $38,000 or $50,000. But he posted this chart, which shows it says Satoshi Latino created this chart. And it shows you the different bull cycles and then the bear cycles. And you can see almost all the bear cycles are exactly 1 year, 2018 to 2019, 2022 to 2021, end of 2021, into the end of 2022. And now we're in the final cycle, and we've already hit the top in October. So that tells me we're probably going to hit the bottom in October of next year. And there's many catalysts that will drive us to that point. But I keep hearing, but Cryptoviser, the M2 money supply, but Cryptoviser, the Federal Reserve is cutting rates. It's like they've already cut rates and the price is already dropping. You think it's just all of a sudden going to turn around because you think that that's the metric that's going to push the price up? No, guys, the market doesn't work like that. You're trading a market that's not here. You're trading a market that you want. That's not what we do on this channel. We trade the market in front of us, not the market that we want, because I want the market to go up 10x every single day. It's not going to do that. So if I'm trading that, I'm going to lose. We're here to win. That's what we do on this channel. We win in the markets. And so how do we do that? Well, we have to understand the market is downtrending. I've been saying this from the middle of the year, and people keep saying, Cryptoviser, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. Meanwhile, this is an example. This user, Render Miami, reposted a Jesse Olsen post that said Bitcoin had its lowest weekly candle since its June and its lowest 2-week candle since May. They wrote, after 1 day of the price going up like 2%, bears are grasping at straws now. Get ready to be liquidated. And again, earlier in the year, in August and September, I told my viewers on this channel, I said the hubris, the arrogance of the bulls, that we're not going to have a bear market, that we're not even close to the end of the bull cycle. Like if you don't even think it's the top of the market in July or August or September, great, fine, I could understand that. But for you to not think that we're even close to the top of the market when the Bitcoin halving chart clearly shows that we are, that euphoria was in the middle of the year when all these Bitcoin treasury companies were popped. And remember, you're not going to know when it's the top of the market until after. That's a hubris, the arrogance there. So he's saying bears are grasping at straws, get ready to be liquidated. It's like, no, the trend is your friend. And that's how Jesse Olsen knew he was going to be right. He said Bitcoin bulls got excited on one pump, followed by an immediate bearish engulfing candle. Reversal signal. Never delete Twitter or X. And I would agree. And that brings us to Toby Cunningham and MicroStrategy, or Strategy as it's now known. When Strategy eventually collapses and Saylor is forced to sell his Bitcoin, it will probably be near the bottom of the next bear market, which we're already in rotation into. He said, I have cash on hand to buy a small portion of his Bitcoin. I hope you do as well. Don't let Wall Street grab it all. And he posted the 1 year chart of MicroStrategy. And we topped out in 2024, 1 year ago. And people are we still have the MicroStrategy bulls saying, well, MicroStrategy is making the best trades of the year. They're still able, now they're going into Europe trying to gain more money. This is the smartest thing I've ever seen. We're going to $1,000. And it's like, no, we're not. No, we're not. I mean, it's actually getting funny at this point how correct we have been. Because you can clearly see the downward trend all year and the fact that they're raising less money. They have to go into new products. Each product trumps the last product in terms of seniority of the preferred shares. And if there is a liquidation, which there may or may not be, I don't know. I mean, now everybody is all excited because Jim Chanos closed his short position. But I said on my video recently, just because he closes short doesn't mean we're still not going lower. Jim Chanos is just de-risking from that trade. But we are continuing to see MNAV compression. And all of the MicroStrategy bulls said, no, we're never going to go down to 1 MNAV because MicroStrategy's thesis is amazing. We've been compressing since I called the top in the middle of the year. And by the way, all of our trades, because we're not just talking about this, we are trading this. They're printing money. So the bulls are losing money. We are gaining money. Now, this may not happen forever, and I always say in my trades, it's never a bad time to take profits. Ever, ever, ever. Am I bullish on the Bitcoin mining companies that pivoted to AI? Of course. But have I taken profits off the table? Of course. Do I think that some of the downtrending or bets against the market going higher are going to go on longer? Of course. But did I take profits off the table? Of course. And so if you're not doing that, this is how you get caught up in the cycle. And then when you start to lose some of those profits, then they just accelerate and you don't know what to do and then you get frozen. I don't know whether MicroStrategy is going to collapse. I personally think they're too big to fail at this point. But there's a lot of other companies that are a big question mark, like Nakamoto, like Strive, and the bulls are still pushing it. You know, we just saw Mike Alfred enter a new position in Strive, which is ASST on the stock market. Now, what happens with Strive, I don't know, but effectively you can see the trend down, okay? And they just bought or made an agreement to buy Semler Scientific, which is another Bitcoin treasury company. But again, they're doing all of this, and Bitcoin is still basically at all-time record highs, or very close there too. And these people who are like, well, Cryptoviser, Bitcoin's never going to go down to $74,000 or $50,000. It's like, well, you thinking that it's not makes me think that it's going to, right? And these companies, they haven't even priced in a Bitcoin price drop. If we go down 50% from $100,000 to $50,000 Bitcoin, these stocks are going down even more. Now, personally, I'm ready to buy some of them. Maybe not immediately, but we're going to be watching all of these Bitcoin treasury companies, all of the Bitcoin mining companies that pivoted to AI, because there's going to be a shakeup, I think. I believe that. And we're about to get into some of that in a minute. Well, actually, we'll just start right here, because BitDeer, their CEO, has now confirmed that 2 buildings were impacted by a fire at their Ohio Bitcoin mining facility. Drone footage taken that afternoon shows contained damage, which may only impact or delay the 21 megawatt planned expansion. And so the BitDeer CEO said 2 buildings of 26 are down. No people are hurt. Senior management team is running there to investigate. It was windy and welding operations caused the fires. Wind spread and the fire fast to the other building. The fire has been put out. Whether the transformers were damaged or not will need to be further checked. And this, look at what happened to the stock. I mean, they also had their earnings call around the same time, and their earnings were not amazing. And so it just wiped out literally like 2 months of move to the upside. And whether they had that damage at their facility or not, I mean, it is tragic. Luckily, nobody was injured, but I don't think it would have mattered because BitDeer didn't pivot to AI as quickly as the other Bitcoin mining companies pivoted to AI. And even the ones that did pivot to AI, it was a buy the rumor, sell the news. You can see here Iris Energy, which is the largest. It's already lost $4 billion in market cap from its all-time high. And we still have the shillers shilling it, saying, oh no, buy this, buy this, buy this, because they just made a deal with Microsoft and they just made a deal with Google. It's like, no, they made the deals and we already know it and it's already priced in. So what is next? Well, buy the rumor. The rumor was that they were making the announcement about some kind of agreement, and the news was they did. And so what happens after that? Pump and then dump. And so you can see it was, 4 or 5 months of upward trend, really a year of upward trend if you really look at it. And so 1 year up, 1 year down. That's how the market works. Maybe not exactly 1 year, but that is basically how it works. And that brings us to the quantum companies. And we've been talking about these. And, I am basically becoming even more and more bearish on these quantum companies that are not making any money. Rigetti, that just announced their earnings, and their earnings were like $2 million in earnings and $20 million in losses over the course of 1 quarter, which is 3 months. Now their CEO said on CNBC, when they asked, how do investors begin to establish what the shares are worth? The Rigetti CEO said, you have to think long term. We're in research and development stage. We're nowhere close to saying we can take on conventional computing. Meanwhile, the Ionic CEO is out there saying, we'll wipe the floor with NVIDIA by 2027. Let's watch.
Welcome back. Take a look at shares of Rigetti Computing, lower this morning after reporting a miss on revenue in Q3. Stock still up. Welcome back. Shares of Rigetti Computing lower this morning after reporting a miss on revenue in Q3. Stock still up roughly 2,000% over the last year, though, amid this excitement.
2,000%.
AI boom. Joining us this morning in a CBC exclusive is Rigetti CEO Subodh Kulkarni. Subodh, welcome back. It's good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
I wonder I hope you won't mind me asking how you recommend investors value the shares right now, given you're a $10 billion market cap and with minimal revenue. How do investors begin to establish what the shares are truly worth?
Well, if you're invested in quantum computing, you have to be thinking long term. You have to be thinking that quantum computing is fundamentally going to change computing. We are going to make computers that are 1 million or even 1 billion times faster than your conventional computers today, and also consume a fraction of the energy that your conventional computers consume today. And you know the discussions going on about energy and computers are closely interlinked with each other right now. So the excitement about quantum computing is significantly faster speed at a significantly lower energy. And you have to think long term. Right now, we are very much in the R&D stages. We are still perfecting the technology. We are nowhere close to saying we are ready to take on conventional computing. So as an investor, if you are willing to think long term, if you are willing to think big picture, quantum computing is the game for you. But if you're thinking short term and you're thinking this quarter or next quarter, really this is not about it. It's about R&D at this stage.
So the Rigetti CEO directly just said that there's long term, and if you're thinking short term, which most of the market is, this is not the stock for you. And so where do we think the stock price is going to go? Pump and then dump. And meanwhile, Jim Cramer said, Rigetti, what an opportunity. Ka-ching, buy IBM. First of all, I don't know what he's saying, whether he's saying Rigetti should buy IBM or that you should buy IBM, but he's saying Rigetti is an opportunity. I mean, it's worth $10 billion, and in 3 months, they made $2 million in revenue. So even if you annualize that and add some, $10 million on a $10 billion valuation, it's highly overvalued. And they're years, potentially a decade away from actual quantum, like any kind of quantum actual computing taking on actual computing. And so, I mean, should they be higher value than they were last year? Maybe, but I don't think that they should be at 10 billion. And I personally think that it's going to continue to come down. And so what are we seeing here? We've been talking about the Bitcoin mining companies that pivoted to AI, massive drawdowns, Bitcoin, massive drawdowns, the altcoins, massive drawdowns, Coinbase, basically walking away from a deal with a bank, the Bitcoin treasury companies, massive drawdowns. We're seeing this across the board. And so this is what we call the macro. When you zoom out and look at everything, and everything is trending down. Everything is trending. We've been going up. Everybody is feeling great because their portfolios are going up. But just because you bought the top doesn't mean that that's not the top. And when you zoom that out, when you zoom out these charts, you can understand that the trend is your friend. Now, people will look at something like Strive or MicroStrategy and say, well, Cryptoviser, you're saying that, but if we zoom out on the MicroStrategy chart, it's been going down for a year, which is true. But it's going down when Bitcoin is at all-time record highs, and it's going down because of dilution. Once the Bitcoin price starts dropping precipitously, potentially under the MicroStrategy buy price of $74,000, this is going to cause fear in the market, panic in the market, liquidations in the market, and this could draw the price down even further. And so there is nothing in the markets that I'm seeing right now that is bullish. M2 money supply, okay, but M2 money supply has been going up forever. The Federal Reserve lowering rates, okay, but they've already lowered the rates. We need to see massive money printing. We haven't seen that just yet. I do think it's coming, but I think it's coming with the next Federal Reserve chairman. And the next Federal Reserve chairman is in the middle of 2026. And that is the next catalyst. And then once they start printing the money, by the time it enters the economy, will be several months after that, which does put us into the mid to end of next year. And if we go into the mid to end of next year, this goes in line with the Bitcoin charting that Jesse Olson posted here. This goes with the Bitcoin halvings from previous cycles, and it sets us up for the 2028 halving. So let me know what you guys think about all of these, this analysis and all of these points about where we are in the market, where we are going in the market, and how to analyze top chasers. And those top chasers in the market will continue to lose. And so you just need to block them so you don't even see their posts. Because the same top chasers from the last cycle that we're calling extended cycle are now saying that they need one more pump so that they can exit, which means they're exiting. It means others are exiting as well. So if people are exiting the market, and they, again, going back to what Jesse said, some realize faster than others and some never realize. Some will realize when we are at the bottom of the market. And then some will capitulate. Some will exit those cryptos or those stocks. And maybe the price will pump a little bit. But don't be faked out by these fake pumps that we're seeing, like some of the coins that we talked about in today's video. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's conversation. Don't forget to give the video a free thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. That way you never miss a new video. Remember, we upload every single day of the year to bring you the latest happening right here in the financial world. Nothing I say is financial advice, so make sure you guys do your own research. Other than that, see you guys on the next one.